Give me 20 minutes and you'll learn exactly how to box out in Ultimate Frisbee. My name's Eric Deng. I play for Sydney Sunder, the premier opens club in Australia, and I'm also the owner of Ultimate Academy, which is the biggest online community for Ultimate Frisbee athletes dedicated to skill development. In this video, you'll learn my exact 3-step framework on how to box out so that you can effectively win more battles in the end zone when the disc goes up. Be ready to take some notes, put the video on 1.5 times speed, and I'll see you on the other side. If we can understand the concepts that we're going to be going through right now, if we can understand the ideas and the drills that we're going to be talking through as well during this call, the goal is by the end of this call, we should be able to have all the knowledge and the activities that we need to be able to get more blocks in the air. Okay? Now, key concepts. I want to propose us a few scenarios that often happen. Okay? So the most typical scenario of what occurs is we have maybe a disc on the sideline, and we're going to be this player marking this isolation cut. Okay. Now, what might happen? God forbid an upline gets let off, right? And they get this disc in power position. And so all of a sudden, this thrower has more access to the end zone. All right. Now, what happens? Usually, we might be holding an under buffer. They get a step ahead of us towards the end zone. And this throw is going to come up. All right. Now, sometimes this is the perfect throw and they're able to get the disc in stride and we have no play on it. But oftentimes, maybe 50% of the time, this disc sits for longer than we expect it to. Okay. And so the purpose of this tactic, this strategy of the week, is for us to take advantage of those 50-50 scenarios and be able to practice intelligent ways that we can try get this block when the disc is floating in the air, sitting in the air in a 50-50 battle. Okay? So I want to take us through a step-by-step process to be able to box out more effectively and to be able to get more blocks in the air in this scenario. Okay? Now, oftentimes what occurs is we're chasing this player, we turn around, we're looking at the disc, we have a look, and what happens is it's a 50-50. The offense is able to high point the disc. We're also able to jump as high as we can. But what happens is because the offense has the advantage, because they're the one in the space first, they're able to get a full leap and time to high point. Okay? In this scenario, we end up losing the majority of our 50-50s. Okay, the idea is they're able to get in the best position to accelerate, get down into the ground, jump up, and high point the disc. Now, our goal in this scenario is to take them out of that possibility of getting a full force jump. Okay? So the key thing that we want to be doing in this scenario, and the key message of today, is the concept around playing the player. Play the player. Okay. Does anyone want to have a guess, jump off mute, and have a guess on what that might mean, playing the player? Anyone want to have a crack?
Positioning yourself, your body between where you think the disc is going to go and where your player is, where the offensive player is.
Yeah, exactly. Right. The idea is instead of simply going to where the disc is going to be, we're considering and actually actively preventing our player from getting to where the disc is going to go. Okay? This does a few key things. It does really one key thing in our scenario. Okay? The key problem that we're met with is if we play the disc, they're able to high point it, we're able to high point it, but they have the better read. Okay? What we want to do is by playing the player, by going towards them first, by initiating some sort of touch with them first, this prevents their ability to get a full force jump into the ground. Okay. The idea is, I mean, you can probably compare next time you're out on the field, try doing a full force jump and see how high you get. Then have someone literally next to you, touching you, and then try to do the same thing. I guarantee you the verticality will be at least 50% less. Okay. The idea is if there is physical touch, physical contact, and pressure at that point of jump, the offense is not going to be able to high point the disc as effectively. Okay. Now, what we're banking on the fact here is we're banking on the fact that if we both high point it, they're going to get it. So instead, let me take the battle out of the air and into the ground. Okay. What that means is we're going to be trying to win this battle on the ground. And in a second, we're going to go through an example as well and how we can apply this in a drill perspective. So one tactic I want us to apply this week is to be playing the player more. The way that I want us to do this is when we have a deep cut going and we see the disc, we check for the disc, it's gone up, okay? And we can see that it's floaty. I want us to go through this 3-step checklist, okay? Step 1, we want to track the disc. Okay, so we want to get a quick look to see where the disc is going to go. Okay. Step 2 is we want to play the player. So now that we've tracked the disc, we want to forget about it for a sec, and we just want to close the distance on our player. Even if we think the disc is going to go over here, we really just want to get to the player straight away. Okay? Because if we go play for the disc, they're going to be able to box us out. We're not going to get the best position on the fade. So the second thing is we want to play the player. Get to the player first. Okay? That's going to prevent them to get a full ability to vertical leap. Okay? That's going to take the battle more towards the ground. Okay? Once we've played the player, step 3 is for us to execute our box out. Okay? For consistency's sake, for the font. Okay, this is when we want to execute our box out, and we're going to talk about how exactly we want to execute that, and we're going to go through some examples of what good boxing out looks like. Okay, so the idea is once we've played the player, once we check the disc, once we then play the player, once the disc is in the air, we find the best position to be able to box out in that scenario. But the priority is to take them out of the vertical leap first. Take them out of the vertical game first. Okay, so this is a 3-step checklist I want you guys to use this week when we're in air battles to make it difficult for them. And we're going to go through an example now. Any questions on this 3-step checklist? No questions? Perfect. If any pop up to mind, let's send them in the chat or unmute and we can go through it. What I'd like to do now is go through a few examples and a specific drill on how we can actually practice this skill. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate the drill on the whiteboard first, and then I'm going to show you the drill in real life through a video so that we know how to apply it. Okay, so the drill is very simple. Disregard these ones. But effectively, we have one thrower, okay, with the disc, and we're going to have 2 lines. Okay, we're going to have a offense line and a defense line. What's going to happen is the offense is going to have a 2 to 3 meter advantage, and the thrower is going to throw what we like to call in Australia absolute pie, right? They're going to throw something really airy, and they're going to it's going to double helix. It's going to be really airy in the air. Okay, so they're going to throw this, and the offense is going to have the first move. The defense is going to catch up, close up this distance. This is going to sit in the air somewhere. And the goal is for the defense to go through these 3 steps, okay? Track the disc, play the player, and then box out, okay? And then they finish their rep, then the next 2 goes on. They finish the rep, the next 2 goes on, okay? And then eventually after 5-10 minutes, we can flip to the other side, backhand side, okay? So that is the drill here. Now I'm going to share my screen to walk you guys through a few examples of the drill actually occurring. Okay. What's happening here is we have the defense setting up here and we have the offense setting up here and we're cutting this way. And the goal is for the defense to practice that ability of boxing out, and the throw is going to be really high and floaty in the air. So we're just going to roll the clip and see what is occurring, how the drill's running, but more importantly, see how the defense is reacting and if they're going through these 3 checkpoints. Okay. If you guys have any comments, feel free to chime in and we can talk about that. So you can see we have the offense going, disc is in the air, and our goal is to be able to, as a defense, find the body first and be able to box out. Okay. Now, did you guys notice that that defender is really attractive and good looking? I'm joking. That's me. So let's go through this example. Okay. So I picked this in particular because it's a great example of the techniques that we talked about. Okay. So what's happened here is early on, I'm following the player. I get in a quick look. Okay. Once I get the quick look, I know in the vicinity where the disc is going to be. I can see that it's going to be fading outside in. And so you notice here where my vision is. Instead of continuing to look, I'm going to draw my googly eyes here. Instead of continuing to look, now I'm using my speed, I'm using my direction to try close this distance. So I get in an early look, which is step 1. Now I go into step 2, which is playing the player. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. Commit all my speed to catching up with the player. Once I catch up to the player, now we're in a spot where the disc has floated in the air and I can go move it into step 3. Okay, step 3 is for us to box out. Now, in this scenario, we want to really find body contact with the player ASAP. Okay, we don't want them to be able to get this full power 2-step vertical jump in. Whenever we're in this position now where we're close enough to contest, we want to close this gap as fast as we can. Okay, so what you'll notice here is as I see this disc fading towards my direction, I effectively close this gap as soon as I can. Okay, now you'll notice it might look like I'm pushing. I'm not pushing. Okay, in this scenario, I'm just holding my body position. Okay, so what's happening here, if we play it live, is I see this, I hold. Okay, and then we're able to cause the turnover. So the idea here is the important part is we close that box out distance ASAP so that they can't, number one, can't get that vertical leap, but also so that they can't get back into where this disc is going to fly. Okay. Now, how do we avoid a foul? Don't use our hands. Don't push. Okay. We are simply meeting their body. And when they are pushing back against us, they're coming into our space. The idea is we just want to set up our space early. And we do that by closing distance, by establishing that touch. Okay. So that's a key piece, is that we need that touch to be there so that it's difficult for them to jump up and accelerate. And in this example, it works out perfectly. The disc goes over both our heads. He can't get through me. And you can see he's trying to push through me, right? I'm holding my ground and we're able to cause that turnover. So let's just play it one more time, full speed. Look, play the player, box out, and turnover. Okay. And you can see there's a few of these examples where, yeah, that's a great example as well, actually. So same thing, we look, get an early look, play the player, close the body distance, box out. And the idea is you don't have to be the tallest person on the field to be able to achieve this. You don't have to be the most skilled player to be able to achieve this. It just takes a few consistent application of this 3-step process to be able to do this, right? And there's offensive players here in this drill that are world game players that are being able to get boxed out by rookies on the team. So it doesn't require super intense level of skill to be able to do this. You just need to go through that checklist to be able to play it. Any questions, thoughts, feelings, reflections?
My main question with all that is just avoiding getting a foul called on you, and like what the line there is. I mean, you talked about not using your hands and establishing space so that they're coming into your space, but it feels like a fine line from like other clips I've seen or on Instagram where there's like two people at a huck up and two people going and bodies hitting each other and who's initiating the contact and
Yep.
whose space it is. It feels a little like arbitrary and hard to.
No,
I don't know if there's specific ways to avoid a foul call.
I completely hear you. Let me propose you two scenarios, Ben. So I think what often happens, I think more commonly is both players high point for the disc. There is some people that are jumping vertically directly, some people that are jumping across, right? And there's also a lot of contact around the hands. And I think that often results in a very clear foul call. I think that's the most common foul call scenario, if that makes sense. Our goal here is to take the game out of the air, right? Our goal here is to avoid that scenario where we have one person jumping vertically and one person jumping horizontally, right? If we can avoid that scenario, that already avoids the grounds of probably the most common types of foul calls. And so if we can take the game to the ground, that'll already solve a number of potential foul calls that will be called. Now, you're exactly right. Even on the ground, there are it is a fine line, right? The idea is, as a defender, we're able to use our body if we're making a play on the disc, right? It's a space that we're vying for. So it's in the rules that if both players are vying for the same space, going for the disc, then it's not a grounds for a foul call. Okay? So in these scenarios where the disc has gone up, right? Let's just use this as an example. Where the disc is fading, let's say right to left, both players are vying for the space on the left. Okay? Both players are vying for the space where this frisbee is going to be. Okay? And so as the disc is flying from right to left, if we're in this space vying for the same space as they are, then it's not grounds for a foul call. Now, it would be a foul call if we are completely blocking them and clotheslining them with our arms. It would be a foul call if we are pushing them. But if we are simply finding this position early, i.e. we're vying for that space, and if we're simply holding that position, absorbing their contact, then in reality, they're the one pushing into us. Does that make sense? And so in that sense, if we can kind of ride the fine line at most elite levels, oftentimes the offense will not call this particular scenario, and you can make a case against it as a defense because you're vying for that space and you're both vying for that space. Does that make sense? Now, you will play against players that will call it, that don't really like playing against any sort of contact at all. But the alternative is that you guys both go up early and they score a goal, right? The idea is we know that we're playing within the confines of the rules. We know that we're doing things the right way. If they want to call a foul and we don't agree, I mean, that's beauty of the sport. We can contest it. We can send it back. Okay. But the idea is, I think more oftentimes, 9 times out of 10, this will result in the right call being made if we can go through the right discussion. If you can say, hey, look, I was vying for this space. I got this position early and you're coming into me. I think oftentimes that isn't grounds for a foul call. And I think most intelligent players will not call that foul there. If you push them, that's a different story. So don't push them. But find the balance there for sure. And worst case, we can send it back. But I think oftentimes we're applying this tactic. We're gonna get more blocks rather than getting more foul calls. Great question, Ben. Love that. And it's definitely like an important thing to consider because, even at the highest level, sometimes games can be determined by, what's interpreted as a foul or not. So really important that we're riding that line carefully.